thing I've got ready to do is soup. So I'm having a very busy day today. We started off with your chicken phyllo rolls, which we did. Then the pudding, sticky date pudding, and then the last thing I'm going to do today is pumpkin soup. Now, I already did a vegetable broth way back at the beginning. It was one of the first things that I did when we started making these demonstrations. But the actual recipe that you have there on Sector is for pumpkin soup. But as you know, everything is about utilising what we have and substituting ingredients in these times. So I thought I will show you the pumpkin soup anyway, because there are some things that you need to be aware of with regard to cutting pumpkin and vegetables for making soup. So I'll leave that to cook, and the muffins are in the oven, and here we are, pumpkin soup. Now most people like pumpkin soup, not everybody does, but most people do. I've got half of a butternut pumpkin here, and it is quite expensive at times, but the main thing I want you to be aware of here is using the large knife, so large food, large knife, having the knife quite sharp and doing that in slices with the skin on. And I'll show you the safest way to peel and chop pumpkin for soup. So of course when we turn it over it has lots of seeds in it. Please don't do that. Don't ever hold food in your hand and cut like this. The pumpkin is going to be roughly chopped in small pieces and sautéed with onion and leek and potato and carrot in this pan. So it doesn't matter what shape it is, it's all going to be blended or mashed with a potato masher depending on what you've got at home. So the shape and the sizes don't really matter. So did you see that what I did there? In order to access the seeds in the middle, I've cut it in half to give much better access for the knife to get those big pumpkin seeds out. And then to get the thick skin off, cut down towards the board and take the skin off that way. Now, I had never had pumpkin soup until I came to Australia, which is now, it will be 32 years this July, I think it is. So that's a long time ago. But back then, when we were living in Scotland, you only saw pumpkins in the shops at Halloween where they were used to make lanterns, and they weren't the kind of pumpkins that you could eat. So I had never seen these beautiful butternut pumpkins until I came here, and I really like pumpkin. I love it in soup, and I really like it to be roasted, and I even have a recipe where I make pumpkin pie, a savoury pumpkin pie, where the pumpkin is cooked to a mush with some nutmeg and cream and eggs, and it's poured into a pastry base, and that's rather a nice savoury pumpkin pie. Americans use a different type of pumpkin to make a sweet pumpkin pie, sweetened usually with maple syrup and cream, and that's for Thanksgiving dinners. They have that kind of sweet pumpkin pie, and I've tasted that too, and it's rather nice as well. It's very sweet, but it's nice. So here we are then. You can use, I think it's called a Queensland Blue or a Jap pumpkin as well, but I happen to like and think that butternut pumpkin makes the best soup. Some pumpkins are a bit watery. This one is quite dense, and I think it makes the best soup. So you'll see what I'm doing again. Here we are, another one with the seeds in it. Cut it in half so that you can access the seeds with the knife safely. And whatever you're doing, you always cut down towards the board. Never hold food in your hand and cut towards your hand. Put it on whichever's the steadiest surface and cut down towards the board again. Just going to check these muffins. Oh, they look great, but I can tell by touching them that they're still raw in the middle, but they're coming up really well. How's the sauce? Bubbling away? Yes. Look at the caramel sauce bubbling away, but we've still got a lump of butter in the middle. So we'll keep it going until it thickens a little. Now, I know it must be very tempting, but don't stick your finger in to taste this because it's so high in sugar and fat, it's almost toffee and it would give you a terrible burn. So do not be tempted to taste this with your fingers. Alright, back to the pumpkin soup. Again, as I say, the size and the shape of the pieces doesn't really matter. It's all going to get mushed anyway. So all the pieces off. Cut it on a flat surface. Make sure you've created a flat surface, just like we do when you're chopping onions. I always say cut it in half, peel it, sit it on the flat surface, and then start chopping. Cut this in half again, seeds out, and roughly chop. So we're nearly there with half a pumpkin. If you want a bigger pot, of course, buy and use a whole pumpkin, but I find it's easier to buy 2 half ones rather than a whole one because the shop has usually cut it in half for you already. They often use a big cleaver to cut them in the shops. Right, I'll clear that away. So the same principles apply to pumpkin soup as to the soup that we made a while back, the broth. Saute vegetables in a small amount of olive oil, and now I will add that, but not at the moment, just to save time. Potato is really needed for pumpkin soup. Potato thickens the soup for you. Potato is really good in most soups. It adds a bit of body to it. I'm just turning this sauce down now. Because of all that sugar, it will burn quite easily, so I want it to thicken a little bit, but I've turned it down. Alright, again with the potato, cut it in half, 2 flat surfaces, roughly chop, oops, and put that in. So the potato will thicken your soup. Good sharp knife as always, fingers tucked under, and chop. Oops, onto the floor. Right, I'm going to start heating up the oil now. I think we'll move this over there. And a little bit of olive oil in my soup pan and do the sauteing. So never fill a pan with cold water and put stock powder in it and throw your vegetables in. You will not get well flavoured or well coloured soup by doing that. Everything has to start cooking slowly or sauteing in the oil. So there we are. I'm just going to put all this pumpkin and potato straight into the pan. And then I've got onion and carrots, and the other ingredient that I'm going to put in, because I like it, is fresh ginger. That goes really well with pumpkin soup. You don't have to have that if you don't like it or don't want it, but I really like pumpkin soup as a base recipe which you can then change or vary in many ways. So I like as well, when I'm making pumpkin soup, to start off with a good curry paste like Patak's Patak's korma paste perhaps, or there's another one, I can't remember the name of it, but I know I've got it here. Oh, this one's korma, yes, but one of these good pastes, not really curry powder, but where all the spices are cooked in a little oil and it's all blended. These are really good quality pastes. And if I was using that, I would put it in before the vegetables into the oil, stir it round quickly, then add the vegetables and coat all of them in that curry paste, and then I would replace some of the stock with a tin of coconut milk. And that gives a lovely, different flavoured soup. You can also put Thai flavours into pumpkin soup. So lemongrass and coriander and chilli, these all go really well with a pumpkin soup. So there we are, just another potato into the recipe. And I've got onion to go in as well. So you can see soup is one of the most versatile things that you can make. It's healthy. It's obviously high in vegetables, and it's high in fibre as well. Even more high in fibre, even higher, sorry, in fibre, if you add beans or lentils to the recipe as well. So there we are, you can see the potato, and my cameraman's reading his iPad off to the side. Can you believe that? There, we're starting to saute the potato and pumpkin in the oil. I'll turn it down just a little bit, and then peel some carrots and add that, and then I'm going to add onion and ginger. This is the fresh ginger. It's not the dried ginger that you would use in a cake. That's ground ginger. This is fresh ginger. It's quite an ugly looking root. Has a beautiful smell, and you can peel it a little if you like, but this skin is not very thick. It's not really very coarse, so I'm just going to grate it with the skin on my microplane grater, which is very sharp, and it's particularly good for grating ginger. As I say, don't worry if you don't have it, but as long as you understand the basis of good soup is to saute vegetables and vary your flavours. If you like, you can add a small amount of bacon at the beginning, although pumpkin soup really doesn't need bacon. I'm going to add a little bit more oil. It's starting to stick slightly, but minestrone is really good to start off with bacon. Any of the soups that you're using beans or lentils or anything, or you may sometimes have seen in the supermarkets bacon bones, a smoked bacon bone. That makes really good stock and a really good winter meal. And once it's all cooked and everything's cooked for a long time, you can remove the fat from the bone and eat the meat that's attached to it. So that's quite an economical way to get really tasty soup, and then maybe even lift the bone out, chop up the meat and serve it with vegetables and potatoes, and you can have a main course as well. It's hearty, healthy winter family food. There we are. So look how much has come out the back of this grater. That's the ginger. Well, here's the pumpkin soup, all cooked and blended. Now I would have liked it to be a little bit thicker than that, but there's nothing wrong with that. It has quite a nice flavour, and I can even smell the ginger coming through, and it tastes really rather nice. But all soups are better the next day, so it will be better tomorrow once it's had time to meld, if you like, in the pot. So I'll serve up some and put a dollop of, I happen to have sour cream in the fridge. I don't have any runny cream because I used it all in the sticky date pudding caramel sauce. I did taste this for salt and it's pretty good. A good dollop of sour cream that can go into it like that. Swirl it through, and I'm going to put just a little grating of some more fresh ginger on top because I like it. You don't have to have that, of course. Even a little black pepper across the top would look nice. There we are. Put that in there. And the other thing I have, which I really like, is smoked salt. This is something I discovered at the Taste of the Huon a couple of years ago, and this is made in, not Signet, Snug. It's made in Snug, and it's really dark and has a beautiful smoky flavour and smell, and I just thought that makes it look rather special too, and I like it. It's particularly nice on tomatoes, this smoked salt. It's lovely on fish as well. So there you are. There is the pumpkin soup, and remember there's lots of variations that you can use, but the method is pretty much always the same. So I hope that you will make this, and please send me your photographs and your evaluations. Have a look at the sample that I sent in the email, and if there's anything else you'd like to be making at home, or you can make at home, please photograph it and send it to me, and that way you should be able to get a reasonable mark at the end of this unit of work. So keep cooking, looking after your families and looking after yourselves. Thank you. I hope to see you soon.